Hey there, it's time for Startup Office Hours. How are you? It's time to help you with your startup. I'm Scott Fox. I'm the CEO of the Startup Council. We're here tonight to help you raise money, strategize, get your questions answered. Basically, if you've been looking for a mentor to help you grow the strategy and operations of your early stage startup company, well, I'm here. I'm volunteering. So it's great to have you with us. I hope you'll join us for the next hour or so. We're going to fill the air with your questions, some startup pitches for practice as if you're pitching investors, and of course, chat. There's a lot of you out there who know a lot more than I do. So together we're going to connect and network and entertain each other while also learning some valuable skills that can help you raise money and advance your startup company toward the future. That's what the Startup Council is all about. This is a worldwide community service organization I founded after a long career as an investor. And before that, as a serial internet entrepreneur. I've been doing this for a long time. In fact, I've written books about it over here. These three books in the middle are in English. The rest are foreign translations, Japanese and Russian and Vietnamese and Polish and so forth. And I'm working on a new one just for you. It's about, you guessed it, how to raise money as a startup. So stay tuned for that coming this fall. But tonight we're going to do this in a fun, interactive way. So if you're here tonight to chat, it'd be great to meet you. Please join in the chat room. I'd love to hear from you if you are, we're on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. I hope all those are working tonight. Sometimes they're a little wonky. But if you can't get through, hop over to YouTube. That seems to be the most reliable one. Our channel on YouTube, actually, let me put that up there. We've got about 20,000 people that watch this channel now across the world, all looking for help on their startups. And we're happy to help. But you can head over there if you'd like, and that would be useful to you. We're going to jump in with some pitch practice, like I said, and your questions. And but let me just say up front real quick, this is not qualified legal or financial advice. I'm just some guy you met on the internet, and I have a lot of opinions, and they are based on experience, but every situation is different. So you need to consult your own professional lawyers and tax advisors and probably your spouse and friends, all those things, to be careful about the money and the time that you invest in a startup. Also, this is being recorded and will be online everywhere. So don't say anything crazy or too confidential, because it'll be available for other people to watch later. So like I said, I'm a longtime serial internet entrepreneur, and I'm here to help you. This is volunteer work that I do. We move this time around here and there, and tonight we're doing it late at night so that we can help you, those of you on the other side of the world, especially those in Australia, the Middle East and India and those kind of time zones. But we're open all hours, of course, on YouTube. So if you missed this or you can't stay up any later, go ahead and visit the YouTube channel. And there's replays there of lots of previous episodes that are full of valuable information that is based on real questions from real entrepreneurs just like you. So I'm here to help. Like I said, just like it says up there, I'm Scott Fox, and we'll be taking your questions here in just a second. So let's see what we've got going on tonight. I'm going to turn on the chat here. And like I said, you can join in anywhere from around the world. We'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear where you're from and what you want to talk about tonight. And of course, you can talk to each other. The chat room is full, fair game for all of you to make friends. The networking part of this is a lot of fun, because the thing that most founders think they need is money, but what they really need is support. Of course, the money's important too, but the support of fellow founders, people who understand what you're working on, can be really helpful. So let me know if you can hear me, and give me a thumbs up or a comment in the chat room. That would be helpful. I'm getting a bunch of highs here. So we've got a hi from Harry and John and David and Stephen and Omid. And those are all good folks. Nice to hear from all you. Let me know where you're from, too. It looks like I'm looking at the little icon. So those are a bunch of YouTubes. Anybody here from LinkedIn yet? Or is the LinkedIn not working tonight? That would be frustrating, but I hope it is. Let me just see if I can. I can't really check that. So if you're out there and you're watching on LinkedIn, will you please type in a comment and let us know? So, okay. And Omid, yes. Tina says yes. Okay. Yes, I guess you can hear me. Looks like you're on YouTube as well. Okay, yeah, we'll be talking about the money there, UQB912, in just a minute. That's really the focus of a lot of this. So Tina's from UAE. Excellent. Okay, and Salman, nice to see you. And there we go. Ganesh, thank you. That's what I needed. Somebody from LinkedIn. Okay, so this is working. All right. So Omid asks, where is the link? The link, Omid, was in the emails. So it's a little late now if you don't have those emails, because we need these. You need your questions in advance. But Omid, I know you've been here before, and I think you sent something in. So you should have that email in your inbox. Yeah, you're in Las Vegas to talk about iSloth. You've been here before. I've got your thing right here. So go look in your emails and find the link, and then join us backstage. We've got several people backstage already. That includes, looks like, Maya and Sebastian And well, actually, you know what? I'm going to bring those folks on, and we're going to have them just say hello and just give me a real quick overview of what you guys want to talk about. Okay. I'll bring you on camera here so that we can prioritize the show, and we'll make a little agenda. There's Ed checking in from Arizona. Stephen, thank you. LinkedIn. Joyce from California. Yep, a lot of us from California, right? Okay, so here comes Kyriakos and Sebastian and Maya. Okay, hey guys, nice to meet all of you. So let's just go around the circle real quick and just give me the quick version, not the pitch or anything, just a really quick version of what you'd like to talk about tonight. And hold on, do we get another one there? Looks like Ketan joined too. Hey, Ketan, turn on your camera, and then I can bring you on as well. Okay, so how about you, Maya? What's your question or pitch tonight?
I was thinking to get a feedback in a way, if we do a quick 2-minute pitch, and it would be great to get feedback from you as well as other entrepreneurs. So
that's great. And I think you sent in a form, right?
I did, yes.
MedTech sort of person, as I recall.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That always helps me. Thank you for pre-registering. It's hard to do this without a little rehearsal. Okay. And where are you tonight?
I'm in San Diego.
San Diego. Okay. Right nearby.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. And Sebastian, how about you? What's on your mind?
Hi. Thank you, Scott, for having me.
Sure.
I am from Texas, and I want to get some feedback for my pitch. It's less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
And that would be my main focus for today.
Okay. Did you send in a form?
I did not.
Okay. All right. Well, you got the link somehow, so we'll let you pitch anyway. That's cool. Nice to meet you. Where in Texas are you?
Dallas.
Dallas. Okay. I've heard of Dallas. All right. And then I'm guessing our late night guest here, move you down here so we can see you. Kyriakos, you're in Cyprus, it looks like. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you're in the middle of the night. That's commitment. Good for you, man.
I mean, the middle of the morning.
Yeah. All right. Well, nice to meet you. So did you want to, you had a question, it looks like. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe we'll start with that, get the question going, and then we'll start doing some pitches, especially since or Ilias, I guess you go by Ilias. If Ilias is up, what time is it for you?
It's 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. All right. But still,
he's going to be a little late. Sorry about that. So he's going to come.
All right. Well, we'll get started with you. Thank you, Sebastian and Maya. We'll be back to you in a couple minutes. And sorry, we're going to stay there. And it looks like a couple more people are backstage. Oh, Peshat. Okay. Hold on. Let me bring you on. And Ketan, you turned on your. There we go. Hey, guys. Nice to see you. We had quite a crowd tonight. Okay. So let's get everybody here. This is great. I love having like a group photo. Can everybody like smile and look excited to be here? That would be really. Yay. All right. Cool. Thank you, guys. All right. So, Ketan, nice to see you. What's on your mind tonight?
So I have pitched last time. So this time it will be a question.
Okay.
I just want to ask what are the main things an investor is looking at when people are raising a seed fund? So this will be a question for the night, for the morning.
Okay, sure. We got a bunch of people emailed that question in too, so we can use you as the example. And Ashay, nice to see you.
Hi, nice. Okay, this lighting is I'm sorry.
All right.
But yes, I have a pitch that I'd like to do and receive feedback on. Please and thank you. And I did submit a form.
Yeah, that's right. I did see that. Okay, cool. So you're here. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, guys. So let's get started. I promise we'd do Ilias first because he's been up very early, but we'll come back to all of you in the next few minutes. All right. And there we go. Okay. Hi, Ilias. Nice to meet you. I've always wanted to visit Cyprus. It's on my list. So someday we'll get together in person. But for tonight, or this morning anyway, why don't you tell us what's on your mind?
So I had this idea that is being eating me. I work in the restaurant industry, and there was a common thing that was happening, a lot of food waste being wasted due to bad tracking, inventory, stuff like that. So me and my friend, we created a program that is about inventory tracking. You download it to your phone, you take a screenshot of the supplier paper that gives you in, or a photo, and it's been added analytically to the inventory, your inventory.
Great. Okay.
And you can schedule donation for food to the local food banks. We are currently partnership with some food
Nice.
banks. And yes, this is a startup that we want to make. Also, there's gonna be alerts that the food is gonna go bad or expire in this amount of time. We have a little trouble because we are from Cyprus. It's a bit hard to find investors to pitch the startup.
Yeah.
Or to talk because it's a small country.
Yes.
I would like to ask this: how can I more go out to investors globally so we can get more opinion?
Yeah.
And
okay.
feedback?
Well, yeah, happy to talk about that. It sounds like a lot of people have that kind of question tonight, and we usually do. That's our most popular topic. I guess my first question for you, let me ask you a couple questions, and this is for everybody who's looking for seed funding, especially if you come from a smaller market like Cyprus. I'm wondering, is this for Cyprus only, or what's your target market?
Target is global.
Okay. So that obviously,
Yes.
so that is the right answer for venture investors, right? They want a big market. But then, of course,
Yes.
you're exposed to a lot more competition. So I don't know, we don't have time to get into that, but I would be curious about that. And that would be something you'd have to address if you're pitching. The next question I would have is, how do you expect to make money from this? It sounds like a lovely idea. Is there money here, or is this more just kind of a hobby or nonprofit?
Well, it's gonna be based on subscription.
But who's going to pay?
Every monthly. The restaurant that's going to be
okay, so it's a business, your B2B sort of thing. Okay. Because
Yes.
that obviously again, great idea, but you need a customer to pay, right? And that's exactly what this sort of thing has usually been done by nonprofits, right? So, okay, so then the trick is, of course, to convince the restaurants to pay for something when they're probably going to think that them giving the food is their contribution, right? Have you actually talked to many restaurants yet?
Yes, I've talked to some restaurants in Cyprus. They actually like the idea, and we have some pre-scheduled, but we are still on the early basis. Still,
Okay.
still very young.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. My point is, it's for all of you who have questions like this, it's really important for us investors to know that you've talked to actual customers, right? Because your idea about how it might make money isn't as good as it actually making money, of course. So if you can get out, the more customers you can talk to, the more interesting it will be to investors. So, okay, well, let me just answer your question a little more directly then, now that I understand it a little bit. I think we're going to go through this a couple times tonight because Ketan from Bangalore also has a similar question. But I think the main question is to spend a lot more time on research than on outreach. Most people tend to focus on, they'll get a list of investors and then they act like all investors are the same. And we're really not. Every investor has a specific investment thesis, and you need to figure out who is going to be excited about this as an investor, just as if you're doing sales, right? This isn't like going to a bank and getting a loan for a car. Any bank will do. And as long as you've got good credit, they'll give you a loan, right? This is not like that. This is very personal, especially at the early stages, because it's going to be angel investors. And that means it's a personal check. So they're going to have to really vibe or support this mission that you have, because you have kind of an impact mission, which is the investor's way of saying it has some social benefit to it, which is great. So first of all, I would spend a bunch of time looking at what kind of investor funds this, and how do you do that? Well, you have to, Google is your friend. You can subscribe. There's a system called PitchBook, but PitchBook costs like $12,000 to $15,000 a year, probably outside your budget. Can you move on camera, Elias? I'm only seeing your ear. Well, there's two of you there. I see. Okay. Sorry. You got a partner there. Let's see. There we go. How's that? I can see one ear. Hi there.
That's better, yeah.
What's your name?
I'm Elias. I'm
you're
co-founder
Elias.
of
Okay. You're Elias and he's Kyriakos. Okay, great. Nice to meet you both. So it's a lot about research and finding the right people. And founders get really frustrated because they go to conferences and they go to events like this, or they pitch, they send in applications to incubators and stuff. And the problem isn't that their business is bad, it's that they're in the wrong room. So this is not a really good answer. I know it's a frustrating answer, but the answer is however much time you were going to spend on research, triple it. Find the people who care about what you're doing so that when you send out 10 or 100 emails, half of them actually care, right? And to do that, some other ways to do that are, for example, to find companies like this that have been funded before, figure out who their investors were. Find people that have made money, maybe in restaurants or some related field that have money, but maybe also it shows on their LinkedIn profile or they're posting on Instagram that they support charities similar to yours, right? It's like this personal networking thing. It's almost like dating, like you're trying to find somebody that you really fit with. And that's true because an angel investor at an early stage company, you're going to be together for years, maybe the rest of your life. and honestly, most investments these days last longer than most marriages. So you got to really do your research, right? So that's all kind of big picture. Is this helpful? Or is this stuff you already know?
Yes.
Helpful? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll do a couple more then. So the trick is to find people. Everybody has a different niche, and that's really what I'm saying is all investors are not the same. Drill down and find the ones that fit you the best. This is such a recurring problem that we actually built a directory, and I'm not selling you on this, but I get this question every time. So we built a directory to try to help, and you can use it for free with that promo code, Startup Investors Directory. And it has 3,000 early stage investors all over the world with keyword search and all different kinds of ways to search, basically. And I don't know, food savings is not a thing, but there's like sustainability would be a more general category, right? That might fit for you guys. You could try that and similar things like that. It's really where you're at today is about the research more than even the pitch. Because if you can find the people that sympathize with your cause, maybe they've had success there before, they will give you more of the benefit of the doubt, right? Like as if it was your mom or your uncle, right? They know you. They don't know you like your family, but they do know the industry. And that's what you need, that initial step up, some familiarity with the problem you're solving and some sympathy for the solution you're creating so that it can get you to the check, to the money faster. Because otherwise they don't know you, they don't know your business, they don't know the industry, they don't know anything. That's a really hard equation to solve for, right? So okay, so that's kind of a long answer. I hope that was helpful. Do you have any follow-up questions? Well, let me say one more thing. Everybody in the chat room, I don't have all the answers here. That's my answer. I know that a lot of you are also raising money or have raised money or are investors too. Please give your suggestions for these guys too. They're working hard to solve a good problem. And I'm sure that, especially since they're in such a specific area, being in Cyprus and also in a specific market, then you can share information and it won't even be competitive, right? So help each other out there. We also have these LinkedIn groups. I always forget to talk about these, but we have 3 different LinkedIn groups that you can join and continue these conversations afterwards, if that's helpful. So that's what I got for now. Is that helpful? I hope so. At least point you in the right direction.
A bit, okay. So yeah, a bit.
Okay, great. Well, nice to meet you guys. Crowdfunding. Okay, no, there's a good one. Let me address that for a second. Tina posted in the chat room. That's a good point, Tina. I don't know if crowdfunding, and guys, I'm going to take you off camera and move on here, but let me just address that. GoFundMe and crowdfunding. Yeah. Well, Harry, that's a good question. What do they need funding for? You're right. We didn't even get into that, but I presume it's product development and outreach. That's generally what it is at the early stage, but that's a legit question. We just don't have time to do them all. But let me mention that back to crowdfunding for a second. That's a big thing, at least here in the States. I don't know how big it is in Europe, but you can build a community and then have that community fund your operations, right? So if you have, for example, a restaurant and people love your restaurant, they can all chip in $100 and pretty soon you have $10,000 and that might enable you to buy the new pizza oven, that kind of thing, right? But you can do that with equity as well, at least here in the US, and you can sell shares in your company so that people get an equity upside, hopefully, if the things go well. So, okay. let's go on here. I'm gonna practice some pitches here as well. So let me run back through the chat room here and see if I missed anything that was too dramatic or important. I want to have you mention, by the way, that the startupcouncil.org, this website, we just launched a new version, and it has a whole bunch of new services for you guys to join. And you can join and be a member and put up your profile, and that will help investors find you. We have blogs and newsletters that will help you publicize what you're doing. The main problem that I see for early stage companies, well, like I said, is finding investors. So we built a directory for that. And then this is a directory for you so that people know you exist. And that's really the problem when you're an early stage founder, right? You have an idea that's going to change the world, but you don't have the budget to tell the world. So the Startup Council website, the new website, is a publicity platform, essentially, a business development opportunity for all of you. So I would recommend going to check that out. All right, let me scroll back through the chat here so I don't get too far behind. Okay, so who's here? Where are you from? Let's see. Okay, so the YouTube camera link, Tina, I think you're like Omid, both of you, we sent you the link in your email, or it's on the registration that you did when you signed up before. If you can find your way back, I'm happy to bring you on camera. I can't do it right now, though. That we did all that beforehand. So everybody, if you want to be on camera next time, read the emails very carefully because the links are in there. But you have to RSVP. It's a separate link. Okay, Joyce says, I sent in a question, but I can't get my Facebook to work. Okay. Okay. Sorry, Joyce. I don't know what you want me to do with that. I can try to answer your question if you put it in the chat room. Let's see. How do you know if an idea is a tar pit idea or not? That's a good one, Omid. I hadn't heard it called a tar pit. That's about right, though. I was just in Los Angeles last week. I live in Southern California, so that's not a surprise. But I drove past the La Brea tar pits, which are a very famous set of tar pits right near here. So that's funny that you say that because I just saw them last week. So how do you know if an idea is a tar pit or not? That's a really good question. And I think that might cut to the heart of a lot of the questions here. So let me talk about that for a second. A tar pit, I mean, I like that. That might show up in my book, Tar Pit. I'm going to write that down. A tar pit, the idea, of course, is that you fall in and you get stuck and you can't get out, and it's a black, sticky mess, and you're unhappy that you spent your time that way, right? So avoiding that, I think there are a couple fairly easy steps. Well, easy is the wrong word. Simple to explain, hard to do. First is, if you want venture money, the market has to be really big. It has to be really big because a venture capital firm requires like a 50 times or 100 times their money, which sounds crazy. It sounds greedy, right? But the problem is if they have like $100 million fund and they're planning on losing 90 million of that right off the bat because 9 out of 10 startups fail, that means the ones that are left have to way outperform so that they can beat their competition and beat like the S&P 500 or the public equity market indexes or whatever it is they're competing against, right? So if you have a really good idea, but it's only going to be like a $10 million a year idea, I know that sounds like a lot of money to a founder, especially if you're broke. That's just not big enough for venture. It's just not, right? They need companies that are going to go public. That means it has like a $1 billion valuation or a $10 billion valuation. They're hunting for unicorns. They're looking for Meta and Google and Uber and crazy, new med tech ideas that cure cancer. That's what venture capital is for. If you have a business, and it may be a wonderful business, but it's what we call more of a lifestyle business, like say you're going to open a pizzeria, a great restaurant, fantastic, right? But unless you're going to sell like $1 billion of pizza out of that restaurant, it's just not appropriate for VC money. But it may be appropriate for lots of other people. You can get loans, the Small Business Administration here in the United States, different angel investors like the family, the crowdfunding that Tina pointed out. There are other ways to raise money. That's what my new book is going to be about, by the way. But VC may not be for you. So that's one, tar pit. So if your business isn't really going to be huge, it's probably not appropriate for venture capital money. In which case, don't come to stuff like this because we're talking about VC money, right? And that might not be, you're in the wrong room, right? This is what I was saying to Kirkus and Ilyas, right? Research who you're talking to first and go to those parties, not to that party, Okay. Second, have you talked to customers? And this is my big concern with a lot of you guys. And I think, Omid, I read your, because you've been here before. I saw your, yeah, right. This was you, right? So Omid is a great guy. He's been here before. He says his MVP is 70% complete with prototypes built for product extraction, The founding team includes 3 PhDs with expertise in software, AI, and systems. I mean, amazing stuff. This guy is ready to roll. Congrats, Omid, on all the practice that you've had, progress, sorry. My concern, though, when I read that, and this is your question, have you talked to customers? And I think we've talked about this before, so if this doesn't apply to you, I apologize, but you asked. So the biggest way to avoid a tar pit is to get out of your office and out of your head and stop working with your team who are all convinced that you're right, and go talk to 10 customers. Even better, talk to 50 or 100 or 1,000 customers and get people excited and figure out what they would pay. That's what investors are going to want to see. This is the answer to a lot of your questions, everybody, too, about how to raise money with the early stage. If you don't have customers, well, could you have customers? What do those potential customers say? You think you have a great idea, and maybe I even believe you, but that doesn't matter until you can show me a list of a whole bunch of customer names who are all ready to go and saying, we're going to pay whatever it is, $100 a month or $1 million, whatever your price is. I don't know. That customer validation is the key thing these days, because anybody can build stuff. And as you all know, AI is building stuff even faster. In fact, Omid and his team, they're AI guys. They're building AI stuff. They know, right? So how do you go faster is by validating with customers. And that's the best way to avoid a tar pit. And I'm guilty of this. I know this the hard way. My first company, I had the best idea in the world. It was going to change everything. I convinced my family. I convinced several venture capital firms for 3 years. This is 25 years ago, right? Well, almost 25 years ago. So it's not relevant anymore. But we were way ahead of the market. And I never talked to customers. I just kind of assumed if we built this super cool thing, everybody would show up. And that is a fatal mistake. It pretty much bankrupted me. Took a bunch of my family's money, and the VC money was gone, right? And 3 years of my life. So that's my advice to all of you. Talk to customers more than you talk to each other. That's a key a key insight that I want to share with you from personal experience. Yeah. So I guess I should move on, but I can talk about that all day. And that's what I would caution all of you to focus on. Okay. Let me go back to the chat room here. Let's see. Yeah, chat room. Okay. All right. Going back to the questions here. Okay. Padmasri, we'd be happy to have you pitch, but that would be next time. You need to register in advance. We've got a full stack of people backstage who already registered. You can find the RSVP links in all of our marketing emails. Okay, Talal, what if I am in advanced seed level and need investment to build talent and funding high costs faculties? What should I do if I'm not having the product ready yet? Talk to customers. That's the answer. You need to demonstrate traction. Stop building things. Stop hiring people. Stop acting as if your premise has already been proven. Go prove the premise, the assumption, right? Go prove that customers are interested, and not just that they would like to have it, but they will pay for it. That's what you need to do. All of you, you got to stop building and talk to customers. That's the answer. We can talk more about that, but okay. So Tina and Joyce, you have similar questions here. Okay. So Joyce says, Tina says, is it common for coaches to find investors? I'm a coach and interested in exploring this. Yeah, Tina, I saw your email, and Joyce, yours was similar, right? How to find, let me put those on the screen actually. Here's Joyce's. How to find investors for music. And here's Tina's. How to find coaches for investors. And then we're going to do some more pitches backstage, everybody. I'll get there in a second, okay? Okay, so the answer is no. In both cases, investors is a broad term. And part of my mission with this show is to help everybody understand that investors is not a thing. That's like saying doctors. Like, my foot hurts. Do I go to a chiropractor? Do I go to an eye surgeon? Do I go to a gastroenterologist? No, you go to a foot doctor, right? So all investors are not the same any more than all doctors are the same. So investors are possible for anything. They usually start with friends and family, like I was saying, people that already know and like and trust you, or have some sympathy for your industry. For example, Tina, coaches, right? Other coaches who have done well might be interested or understand this, or people who've been clients of coaches, quite possible. And Joyce, for music, same idea. Who's really into your music, right? This might be a crowdfunding opportunity, like Tina had pointed out, actually. Neither of those are business models that typically raise venture capital. Why? Because they don't tend to build $1 billion business. I think you would probably be hard pressed. A simple way to think about this, it's hard to predict the numbers, the revenue, right? But if you look at your business, do you think you could have, say, within 2, 3, 4 years, 1,000 people working for you? That's what it takes to have $1 billion business. These days with AI, maybe it's only 100 people working for you, but I've never heard of an artist, a musician who had 100 people working for them making more music, right? There might be roadies on the tour or something, right? It just doesn't scale that way. And same with coaches. Coaches as a service business, unless you turn the service into a product that you can sell repeatedly 1 million times, that's not a software technology-based business, which is what most venture capital firms invest in. So there may be investors out there for both of you, but you're in the wrong room. That's not what we do. That's not what I do. That's not what my books are about. Venture capital gets all the press, but it's actually for a very narrow slice of people, like Omid's business, right? They're building an AI-powered, I forget what it was. It's a media thing. Brand partnerships and live sports commentary translation, AI voice dubbing, that's software, right? That's what gets, or Maya, who we're going to hear from in a minute. She's a med tech sort of person, right? That stuff can scale like crazy. And by scale, I mean grow. So if you don't see an obvious way to have 100 or 500 or 10,000 employees, that's probably venture capital is probably not for you. That doesn't mean there aren't investors out there. It just means that I don't know, and I'm not your guy. So happy to help you think about how to pitch investors, but you're in the wrong room. So I hope that's helpful by telling you the truth. Otherwise, a lot of people just lead you on, and that doesn't serve anybody's purpose. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Let's get back to the chat room. Let's see, who did we have back here? Kyriakos and Sebastian, Maya. I think I said Maya was going to be next. So let's bring Maya on. I think she has a medical thing. Hey, Maya, nice to see you.
Hi. Thanks,
you said
Scott.
You were San Diego. Is that what you said?
Yes, I'm in San Diego.
Great. Nice to meet
Thank you. So nice meeting you as well. I was at the face-to-face with Tesco's Tesco Venture Group. So I saw you were moderating and MCing. So it was great to see that. Yeah, didn't get a chance to say hi, but nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. That was fun. The Price is Right game show that I ran.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, good. Well, thanks I'm glad this brought you here. Okay, so you want to practice a pitch, right?
Yeah, I can have a quick 2-minute pitch going if you're ready. Okay.
Yeah, let me just tell everybody how this works. Sounds like you are ready, which is great. But I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock on my phone, really. Let's see, timer. And the idea with these for everybody is that there's no slides. It's just verbal. 2 minutes is a very artificial amount of time, right? It's longer than you would get in an elevator. It's probably shorter than what you would get at a pitch competition. It's just for practice to give everybody, starting with Maya. And we have lots of examples of these on my YouTube channel, like you heard. And she's just going to talk. And then the key is I will tell her what I think, but we'd also really love to know what you guys think. For those of you who are out there who have suggestions. And we probably don't have time to debate the business model, especially since she looks like she's going to sell therapy, which is pretty fancy stuff. I probably don't know much about that anyway. But what we can all do is help her with constructive suggestions about what you might have left out, or what you should say more of or less of, or even simple stuff like we couldn't hear you, right? All of those are useful, and that it's hard to do by yourself. So that's the menu for Maya, and then for Sebastian and the other folks who are backstage. Okay. All right. Does that sound good, Maya?
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Scott.
Okay. Here she goes. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miyatu. I'm a co-founder and CEO of VisitCell, GPS for cell therapy. We are developing in vivo imaging analytic solutions for customers with cell-based therapy in solid tumor oncology, autoimmune diseases, and regenerative medicine application.
Wow.
Unlike the standard of care, very invasive biopsy or PCR, where tissue scarcity also has been an issue, VisitCell delivers users real-time cell location information inside the body for safety and efficacy assessment of these products during the translational and clinical trials, ultimately accelerating product development and improving patient outcome. Our disruptive technology includes patented imaging contrast agent that label the cell therapy product, which can be visualized by standard MRI available in most clinics while piggybacking onto the existing imaging workflow of treatment response. Additionally, there is an accompanying analytical solution such as radiomics or image-driven analytics that we provide to the customer. So our business model is a B2B hybrid offering of supply and the services to the cell therapy developer while establishing strategic collaboration for long-term value creations. So we are in early commercial, have signed a research collaboration agreement with a top 20 pharma and currently raising a convertible note to support our commercialization effort and fund our GMP product production for a customer cell therapy trial. And
Wow.
thank you.
That was like perfect timing. My goodness.
Thanks,
Okay.
Scott.
So Mia must have done this. Have you done this before? That was very good.
Thank
A few times, huh? Okay, yeah. Well, that's what it's supposed
Practice.
to look like, everybody. You set the bar really high tonight. You're going to make everybody scared.
you. Thanks, Scott.
Very nice job. Very nice job, Mia. Okay, so everybody in the chat room, if you have suggestions, especially I think what might be helpful here, it sounds like she knows what she's talking about, and I didn't, and you probably don't either. So I think we can help her with jargon and like kind of making it a little simpler for those of us who don't have medical degrees, right? So let her know what you think was not clear, because there's a lot of big words in there, which is fine if you're talking to a group full of doctors, but again, you have to know who the room is, right? So, okay, so here's some of my thoughts. I thought it was very good. Seriously, very good. And you're right on time as well. I kept thinking of things. Oh, she didn't say that, and then you said it. Oh, she didn't say that. Oh, then you said it. So you've obviously done this before. But if I was going to offer some suggestions, it would be I think it would be helpful, and this is true for everybody, to have an anchor phrase at the beginning that is in plain English. This company does this for this customer with this result. Like, because I didn't hear the word, I gathered it was an imaging solution. I don't think you said that till like halfway through. And for those of us who aren't doctors, I really wasn't sure what you were talking about or how you were going to identify these cells until actually I cheated. I looked at what you emailed and I saw it said imaging contrast agent. And I say, oh, it is imaging. I thought so. So say that sooner. Just the word imaging. That would be helpful to us civilians. And if you can, don't read. My tip for this, and again, this is for everybody who's listening, maybe this is helpful. You don't want to read, you want to learn this like it's your life story, right? So think of 4 or 5 points, whatever they are, that you can expand and contract like an accordion, depending on how much time you think you have. Just like you know your life story, right? If we're just in an elevator, you're going to say, oh, I do this, I grew up in San Diego, and you're done. But if we're in a car ride together for half an hour, you're going to tell the same story, but spread each point out much longer, right? And just know what your 4 or 5 points are and make sure you hit them and squeeze as appropriate to the time available. And that way you'll sound much more fluid and you will know it well enough that the problem when you're reading is if I suddenly had a question, it might throw you off, right? And then you can really lose your pace, especially if you're on stage or something and you're reading, you're like, you can really lose your way. So I would take your pitch, because it was very good, figure out what the bullets were, and then anchor those in your head and just try to work your way through. And with practice, because you obviously know how to practice, you'll nail it pretty well. Some points just on the positive side as well. I like you mentioned the standard of care immediately, because anybody that's had exposure to the medical system, even if you're not a doctor, you understand that they have ways of doing things, and you actually are aware of that. You're working within existing workflows, so that addresses some of the go-to-market issues, which of course are really big here. You did get around to, I was going to ask you who the customers were. You said that. You said it in kind of a fancy way, though, that with words that I'm sure are correct, but I didn't really know who it was. You could simplify that a little bit. Like these kind of clinics that, and then of course more numbers is better. Like if you could say these many clinics with a typical, a contract would lead this many patients a month for this kind of revenue. If you can do any kind of unit economics, again, depending how much time you have, right? But unit economics are critical for us because investors eat numbers. And if the more you give us numbers, we'll start doing calculations in our head. And that's what you want us to be doing, because then we're calculating, that's buying behavior, right? We're thinking, oh, I see that. And this fits like, okay, so if the margin is this, then right? That's what you want us to be doing. And if you don't feed us numbers, we starve. And we tune out. So I'm looking at my notes. You mentioned a top 20 pharma as a trial or a partnership. That was great. And she also said she ended with what they're actually doing, a pre-A convertible note. Now this session, this is just practice, right? Nobody's actually raising money or writing checks here. So you can get in trouble theoretically with the SEC if you pitch in public. This is just practice though, so it's okay. Okay. And, but of course in the real world, you'd want to say like what a valuation or an amount, the more details in the numbers, because, if I love it and your valuation's $1 million, I'm in. If I love it and your valuation's $1 billion, I'm not in, right? So those are critical points. Okay, so I don't know if any of that was news to you, but I thought you did a really good job. Hopefully some of that was helpful feedback.
Thank you. That's very helpful, especially the rhythm and fluid part, because like I am a little bit exhausted, so I wasn't physically like being fluid. So and starting with the imaging too, the plain English part also really helpful. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, you're welcome. And I think that we're getting similar comments. Let's just look at the chat together. Let's see here. Yeah, somebody said. Sorry. Yeah, so these are questions for you. John says, are you speaking with medical doctors or potential investors? Like, who are you targeting? So obviously that's what I was talking about earlier. How can you target so you don't waste your time? And then Vineet says what I said. Opening was a bit technical right away and was hard to follow. So you lost a bunch of people, I think. If you can, dial it back, how would you tell your 8-year-old nephew what you do? Because the visual aspect of what you're doing, I think, is you have a real advantage compared to a lot of medical devices or something, which is really hard to understand. It sounded to me like you're talking about like an X-ray kind of microscope to find these tumors and stuff. Like, use language like that, like simple language, right? Like it's not, you could say it better than me, but something like, it's not really this, but think about like as a Superman vision, so you can find the tumors really easily, like, or some metaphor that everybody can get. And then the rest of us then we can ride the train with you. Joyce says, my hubby's in medicine, so new enough to understand. Well, agree. Once you said imaging, then I got it. Yeah. So that's the key. Andre says the best fundraising podcast in the nation. Thank you, Andre.
Agree.
Thank you. And then Joyce, I think promoting the I agree with that too, Joyce. Good comments here. The non-invasive is highly appealing for everybody, whether they're medical or not, right? So that all good points. Cool. Well, nice to see you, Mia. I hope that was helpful and good luck.
Thank you. That is very helpful.
All right. Well, that was Mia, and we're going to keep moving here with whoever's next. Thank you all. See, that's how this could work. So all of you, by the way, go ahead and put your LinkedIns or your websites, or I'm trying to find mine to put it up there. Go ahead and share your contact info, right? The show isn't about me. It's about all of us. And I can't find my LinkedIn, but I'm on LinkedIn, I promise. There it is. So go ahead and you can say hi. Tell me who you are, because I get lots of LinkedIns, as you might imagine. And go ahead and post yours in the chat room and make friends with each other. I'm not trying to gatekeep here. The whole point of this is we're not gatekeeping, trying to help you all connect. So, okay, so let's go on to our next person in the background. So, okay, so I think, it was Keaton and Pashay. Okay, so Keaton, you had a question, I think. Let's talk a little bit about that, and then we'll have, let me toss a couple of these other ones out here. This is a page I put up about funding recommendations. A lot of times people, they get excited, and as they should, right? And I'm happy to help. I just can't help everybody, and I can't invest in everybody. So this is a page I put up that details some of the groups I'm involved in. I rarely invest directly in companies anymore. I mostly invest through groups that do the due diligence for me. I don't have time to do due diligence myself. I'm already an investor in 40 plus different companies. So I've kind of had my fill, but that page, scottfox.com/startup-funding, will give you maybe some helpful links that would be useful. And actually, while I'm clicking on things, how about this too? Please like and subscribe. That always helps. We're trying to build this audience so that we can help more people just like you. And that's why this is free. And even little comments, help drive those algorithms. So we would really appreciate that. And then, of course, Startup Council, like I said. So this right here, I'm pointing at this logo here behind me. We spent a lot of time and money building this system for you, and it's brand new. There's like literally no members yet. You'll still see test posts and things like that. So go ahead and sign up, and we'll be happy to help you take advantage of that. All right. So next we were going to go. Sorry, got to put up the right Chiron here. Okay, there it is. All right. So then we're going to go backstage, and we're going to bring on, who is next? Ketan. Yes, there we go. So this is Ketan. Hey, Ketan. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Scott. So first thing is, thanks for conducting this event in the morning. So we are happy to have you in the morning from India.
Yeah, that's right. I moved it to when I was in Bangalore in December. We almost saw each other, November, December, whenever that was. Yeah, I was very impressed with anybody who hasn't been to India lately or ever. Wow. Get on over there. So I moved this. I used to do this. Some of you know, like he does, that I used to do these at lunchtime. That's easy for me. But I thought we would try to help. There's 1.5 billion Indian guys and gals coming to the market, so they need the help too. So yeah. Anyway, happy to be here. So
yes, as we discussed, yeah. Sorry to cut you out. Please go ahead.
What was that?
You were speaking something. I thought I cut you out.
No, go ahead. What kind of question do you have?
Yes. First of all, I am CEO of Milo.ai, and we are working on a platform called Content Creation. It's called Only Creation, which is connecting marketplace for marketing, agencies, hospitals, all the branding industries, as well as the influencers. So my question is, as we are raising our initial funds, so what are the main circumstances an investor is looking at for a seed funding in the initial days? Is it the sales, or is it whether the penetration of the market, or is it only the idea? What is it exactly?
Yeah, well, it's I'm literally writing a book about that. There's not an easy answer, and you're smart. You're a smart guy. That's not a simple question, but unfortunately, it's a combination of all those things. That's the trick, and especially folks who have like a mathematics background or engineering, they kind of want it to be an equation, A plus B equals C, right? And it's not. It's like A, B, C, and D, mix them together with a little bit of F and sometimes some G, and it's pretty relative and frustrating in that way. But I guess I would to try to answer a little more specifically. The first thing is, well, they're not first, they're concurrent really, but I talked about market size. It's got to be a big opportunity, and it has to be scalable to get there. So it can't be, services don't scale. Like I was telling Tina, like coaching is a one-on-one thing or even a small group thing. Unless you can turn it into a product, investors will look at your projections. And even if they go to like zillions of dollars, businesses that require more people constantly to grow are expensive. So like consulting and coaching and maybe agency type businesses don't tend to get venture funding, because for every dollar they make, they have to spend like, 90 cents to hire another person. And that just isn't as attractive. Again, there may be investors for that, but it's not venture investors. Venture investors, technology investors like me, we're looking for things that can scale like crazy. So it's both of those. Then it's also the combination of someone who is personable and well-spoken and who listens and can adapt to feedback, because nobody wants to work with a jerk, right? This is really can be like a marriage. It can be a difficult, there's ups and downs, right? So you want to have somebody that you like spending time with. I would say a number of the firms that I've invested in, those people are my friends now. Like, we didn't meet each other socially. We met each other through business, but we've really gotten to know each other. Shared experience is what builds trust, right? And then I guess the go-to-market strategy is more important than ever. So you see, these aren't separate things. They all have to be present, and that's what's really hard. So for I would be very concerned about go to market. Like, how are you going to acquire customers? Because that's really what proves everything. So if you don't have anything you can sell yet, can you at least get discussions from people who say they are interested? If you have something minor you can sell, can you sell a few? If you have something major, can you sell more? Like, it's this kind of ladder, and the more you can demonstrate traction, the better. And the customer validation is I don't know, probably 80% of the game these days, especially at the early stages. So that was a long answer. I know you've heard me talk before, so hopefully some of that was new for you. Is there any follow-ups, or anybody else have things in the chat room too? Go ahead,
I
Diego.
have some follow-ups. Yes, but I won't keep it so long. I want to take a private tutoring after this. Definitely, I'll go with that.
Okay.
Thing is, we did a validation. We took some testimonials from the customers. We did some marketing, and we gathered the traction.
Good.
So right now we don't have the converted customers, but we have something to show to the people or the investors that these are the people who are interested. And if
Good.
with the right setup, we can target these people and make a business out of that. Is that what investors also be looking at?
Yes, that exactly. That's good stuff. You still, so yes, period. Absolutely. The more you can demonstrate that, the better. The trick then is that people do that, and then they get frustrated because they demonstrate a bunch of that, and then the investors still aren't interested, right? So just as your friend. So the next step, of course, is actually the step you should have done first, which is and maybe you did, I'm just saying in theory, is to make sure that you're talking to the right investors. And that's where it goes back to this research I was talking about. The number one inefficiency that I see in the startup ecosystem is that founders pitch before they know who they're talking to. They just start pitching everybody, right? It's like a guy who, he turned 18. Now he's going to date everybody. And just because he's a boy, he thinks every girl is interested. That's not a thing. You've got to do your research, right? If you have that traction, initial validation, demonstration, yes, but find people who are going to care, right? So you might have a great validation from a bunch of, people who like to eat fish, but you're selling hamburgers, not fish, right? So that's not going to help, right? You've got to find the people that match your niche. Yeah.
100%. Okay, that answers my question, and definitely you can go with the other people as well.
Okay, great. Well, it's good to see you. Thanks for sticking around. I know you've been to a number of these, and appreciate you showing up and commenting on LinkedIn and stuff. All of you, we do a lot of work on LinkedIn. If you're not following Startup Council on LinkedIn, we're ramping that up more and more. In fact, it's going to start featuring, actually, you guys can get in on this. If you become a member at the Startup Council, then your you can post posts and things, and they'll go out in our newsletters, and they'll go on our LinkedIn and stuff like that to help you all get more publicity. That's the point of the platform we're building. All right, so that was Ketan. What time is it? Almost an hour here. All right, let me just check the chat room and see anybody had any more comments or suggestions for Ketan or for Mia. GPS for cell therapy. Yeah, John, that's right. She did say that. GPS for cell therapy. She said that, and I didn't quite get it. But now that I have more context, you're right. That's good. Maybe say that slower, Mia. It's like GPS for cell, or finish the thought, I guess. GPS for cell therapy. So we have the tools that can help you find your way to the bad tissue that needs to be surgically removed, non-invasively. Non-invasive GPS. So like there's something there. Just like unpack it more. It's not obvious unless you break down why that connects. But that's a good metaphor. I agree. Okay. Let's see what is next here. Let's see who else. Pasha is backstage as well. And anybody else who has questions, I got a good crowd here tonight watching us. And if you want to put some questions in the chat room, we can handle those before we wrap up as well. But trying to change, let's see, that's not it, but yes, come and join us on YouTube. And man, there's too many buttons here. Sorry guys, hang a second. There it is. Okay, so Pasha is gonna come join us, and Pasha, there she is. Okay, oh, and here's Wesley. Okay, so hold on, let's bring a couple of you guys on. Wesley, you just showed up. I don't know what let's have Wesley, and so you're backstage, Wesley, and Omid. And then here's Pesce as well. But let me just hear from Wesley what you would want to talk about. And we'll bring Pesce on to do her pitch in a second. But Wesley, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so this is my first time at the Startup Council. It's like 1 a.m. By me, so apologies if I'm a little tired.
No worries.
I'm an EM, so I'm in software and I manage teams. I've been working on this this app, and I guess my question is, like, how do I put together a business case for a problem that I think there's some validation. Basically, what I'm working on is it's like a visual. It's a tool for those who have lots of interests and projects on the go, but it combines like a sort of visual workflow. So think about like a Make or Anythen, a lot of these workflow tools. It's kind of like a visual workflow tool where you can. How do I explain it?
Well, I can come back to you. We can talk about that, but think about how you want to frame that, and we can come back. But nice. Where are you? It's 1 a.m.
I'm in Toronto.
Toronto. Okay, great. All right. And Omid, so we kind of covered your a little bit. Did you have another question, or what did you want to do?
I just wanted to pitch my idea one more time.
Oh, you want to practice? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get both of you guys in a minute. Let's handle Pesce here. She turned off her camera though. Are you still there, Pesce?
I sure am.
Okay. Can you turn your
Hi.
camera? There she is.
Yes, it's a little blurry, but I am here.
Okay, just a second. And that's the wrong way. All right, hold on. Goodbye, Wesley. Goodbye, Omid. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, cool. All right, so you want to do the 2-minute pitch?
I sure do.
All right, let's do it. Whenever you're ready, go ahead. I'll turn on the timer.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Scott, for allowing me to practice. And hello, everyone. My name is Pesce. I'm the founder of Mind Maternity. We are a care coordination company where we help families unlock the financial resources necessary to access comprehensive pregnancy and postpartum care. And so what we're doing, and we actually have an MVP out already, and we've been able to service a number of families, and we have a 5-star rating in doing this. But what we do is we help individuals understand how to leverage their insurance benefits, their company EAPs, which stands for Employee Assistant Programs, how to leverage any government programs, and actually community resources. So taking from all of those different aspects to create what we call a comprehensive experience. And I use the word and highlight the word comprehensive because, we're aware of the maternal health crisis within our nation, but when we dig into the research of it, what we're finding is that there are resources available out there, but there are barriers to getting to those resources, or it's unknown resources to our community. And so what people often think is, oh, well, if my insurance company doesn't cover this benefit, then I'm out of resources. But that's not the case. And so right now, our model is a B2B2C. So we're working with private practices that already have established relationships and partnerships with doula associations nationwide, midwives, OB clinics. We also are actually starting to, conversations and pilot programs with local and state government plans. And so what our goal is at the end of the day is to make access to these care available to everyone nationwide. And so that is where we're at, and that's what we're focusing on.
Okay. Is that it? Okay.
Yep, that's me.
Okay. Cool. Well done. Okay, cool. So everybody who heard that, please chime in the chat room if you have suggestions for her about different things or more things or things she shouldn't say, all the useful things that you would like if you were in her seat, because it's brave. It takes some guts to do this, on a worldwide basis, and you don't know who's watching. So good for you, Pesce. Okay. Okay, so sounds like a great product, and I've heard this before, right? We've met, I think, or somewhere. Do you come to some of my workshops?
Yes, I've been to your Irvine chats. I don't know if you still have them in person, but I went to them when they were in person.
Yeah, those are good old days. Well, nice to see you again. So the concept is obviously very good. Unfortunately, I didn't hear much about the business. So, as your friend, the access to care, obviously a thing. Everybody's frustrated. Everybody hates their insurance company and resources. Uncovering money, all of that makes sense. But as an investor, I don't know how you make money. I didn't hear anything about what we call unit economics. B to B to C sounds like makes sense, but it's actually scary to investors because it means that you're actually dealing with two different kinds of customers. So it makes it a lot harder. Not that it isn't a good idea logically, but it means that you're selling in two different directions at the same time, which is hard. It's easier if you sell, just to consumers or just to the businesses, right? So everything you said makes sense, but without numbers, it was hard to appreciate how big it is, like how big is this market, which so let me try to be more specific. It would be helpful to give a case study probably, right? Okay. For example, our first client was Robin and she had this issue. And so we talked to Blue Shield and we talked to whoever's on the other side, and they figured out that she could save $78 a month on her prescriptions, or I don't know what the vibe is, but that kind of thing, right? Because that would bring it down to like, we can start to see how you actually make money. Because what you gave was kind of a product vision pitch, which is totally cool, but I couldn't make an investment decision even if I was writing a check, right? Because I don't know how much you're going to make, how big the market is, and how you make money. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So a lot more numbers is the short answer, right? Give me numbers. I think everybody would sympathize with the goal. So you could probably spend less time on that if you had 2 minutes. I looked at the clock. You spent over a minute before you even kind of got to the specifics of the business. It was kind of about, these are the problems. And I agree they're problems, but I think most people kind of get that. I mean, anybody who has insurance in America knows how goofy it is, right? So I would think about like, how can you say that much more quickly and then add in the second half a lot more numbers about what this is, who the customer is, how much do you make from each transaction and the life of the relationship, just like I said, numbers would help us understand not just that the numbers are important, but it shows that you have thought through the numbers, right? And that's what we need is part of it is a credibility check for you as a CEO. Like if I'm going to write you a check, and again, we're not doing that tonight. This is just practice, but we need to know that you can handle the money, right? And a bit like that makes me wonder if you know how to use a spreadsheet, and you have to know how to use a spreadsheet as a CEO. So,
of course,
yeah. So I'm sorry if that wasn't more encouraging, but hopefully it's helpful.
Oh no, because I have all this information. I just didn't speak towards it. So the exciting part is I can answer all your questions. Now I just need to know how to integrate it into my speech.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's great news. Great.
So yeah, it's very encouraging.
I don't do this to be discouraging. It's the opposite. Yeah. Okay. Well, then great. So yeah, I would look at the 2 minutes and kind of like I was saying with Mia earlier, figure out what your 4 or 5 or 6 points are, and then make sure at least 4 of them have numbers, right? And also leading up to an ask, because you didn't get to any kind of ask, right? Whenever you have an opportunity, just tell people what you want, even if it's not money, right? We're looking to hire this person, or we need an office like this, or does anybody know Anthem Blue Cross, or Kaiser Permanente, or I don't know, whoever it is, your dream client, right? Just ask every time, whenever you have an audience. All of you guys, listen, never turn down an opportunity to pitch, because you never know who's in the room, and then never fail to ask for something so that people can follow up. They don't know. We don't know what you need unless you tell us, right? Nobody's a mind reader. So, okay. Well, I hope that was helpful. It's nice to see you.
Absolutely.
I think you're making progress too. That's great. That's really good. Yeah. All right. Well, next we'll bring on, thank you for coming. And we're going to move on to, let's see, Omid and Wesley were backstage, I think. Let me just check in on the chat, and looks like, our last comment was that Andrew Tate is a trillionaire. So maybe we can do better than that. Anybody got a better comment? We're not big Andrew Tate fans here, I don't think. So okay. So I got through all the chats, I guess. Let's go backstage again. And who we had, Wesley and Omid, right? So where is, okay. So Wesley, Omid wanted to practice his pitch. Let's do that. And then Wesley, if you can frame your question or your pitch, we'll do that after Omid. Okay. Nice to see you again, Omid. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Right. This is round 3 or 4. You've been here a few times, right?
Yes, I have been here a few times.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm trying to crack like how to pitch and get some sort of feedbacks and see if our idea is tar pit or no.
Yeah, right. I love that phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, go ahead.
So, okay, I'm going to start. Hi, I'm Omid, one of the co-founders of iSloth. We're building an AI-powered cross-platform across mobile, smart TV, and web that makes content, movies, sport, music, podcast, books, and games far more interactive and intelligent. Right now, media is passive. You might see something interesting in a scene or hear something mentioned, but there's no easy way to act on it at the moment. iSloth changes that. We use multimodal AI to extract products, locations, and contents from whatever you're watching or listening to and overlay it directly into the content in real time. If you're watching a football match in another language, we can dub it in instantly with cloned voices. If you're watching a movie, we can identify the outfits, tech, decor, or anything that you watch on this screen. It even works offline. For example, off a screen, you can just like take out your phone and point your phone camera at someone's outfits or record part of a conversation, and will resurface related products and services instantly close to your home, wherever you're located. You're just like going to resurface that. We initially validated the idea by serving around 20 random users, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. That feedback gave us the push to build this. Our MVP is 70% done with working demos. The app is free to use. Monetization happens through affiliate commerce, brand partnership, and advertisement and promotions, or in-app upgrades as well, the premium features that we're going to provide. We are targeting currently $150 billion market of AI, growing over 20% annually. We are a team of 4 PhDs right now, mostly in a field of computational and computer science. I love your feedback.
All right. Good job. We've got about 15 seconds to spare. So you've gotten way better at this. That was for sure. You can tell this guy's a PhD. Yeah. So nice job. Sorry, I'm just writing some notes so I can have something clever to say. Okay. So anybody that's listening that has suggestions about that, I'm sure he'd love the feedback, both about the product and about the pitch, because the product sounds like it has great applicability to all of us, really. Okay. So what would I say? So I would say you're getting better. So seriously, that's
Thank you.
good. And practice makes perfect, right? The question that hit me this time actually was the name, iSloth. Sloths imply slow, and they're kind of cute and fun, but I'm not sure that's a great name. So I don't know what you want to do with that. But
so sloth means lazy. So we are trying to make things easy for people, so people don't try or just like work so much to get to things. iSloth means I just like go lazy. I just like don't want to just like, I realized that for finding any product, I had to do a minimum of 15 clicks. In iSloth, we do it in 2 clicks or 3 clicks. We reduce it down by 90% of the number of clicks that you need to do. So basically, it's a physical, like the principle of like minimum energy that is all over the place. So we're trying to,
I like that actually. So that that was a great answer. So I would put that into the pitch, not as long as that, right? If you don't have much time, but you could say we call it iSloth because X, Y, and Z, and they give people because it frames the whole thing. I like that actually, because making things easier for people. Everybody gets the convenience principle, right? And I like what you said there, which you didn't. I don't think you said it during the pitch. We're reducing the clicks by 97%. That's a metric everybody would get, right? Like I'll probably be watching TV later tonight, and it's like this remote control for this, and then this one, and switch over here, and it's such a pain in the butt, right? So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'll buy that. And then you should make sure you have a cute logo that makes him look lazy but happy.
We just actually just like trademarked our logo, and I don't know if you just like go to my LinkedIn, it's already there. I don't know. I just like got like some positive feedback on it, but I would just like love any feedback that you can provide as well.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, let me just talk about the pitch a little more. So that was a good answer. I mean, that's an example of branding, right? You pick something that isn't obvious and you make it your own. Like Amazon, it used to mean a river in South America. Now it means something completely different, right? So maybe iSloth can be that as well. Okay, so what I liked about this pitch is, you're good and fluent. Like I was telling Mia, you're just ready to tell it. You're not reading notes. You know it, right? And that just comes across as a passion and enthusiasm, which investors appreciate. I like that you had a lot of examples. You had several because you have such a wide potential for this technology. You said you can click and get the TV, you get the translation, or you can get the clothing, the link to the clothing, and like the specifics like that bring it to life, because otherwise it's hard to understand, right? And unfortunately, iSloth doesn't immediately tell you what it is, right? It isn't like batteries.com that sells batteries, right? You've got to explain it. So having those examples is, I think, key. On the flip side, as an investor, I get a little concerned because you're doing multiple things, and you know better than I, with 4 PhDs, I'm sure you've thought about this, but I'd rather see you really do one really well and make $1 zillion and then fund the others, right? Trying to do several things at once, unless these are truly a 99% overlap on the back end, that's a lot of distraction. And even if it is technologically possible, those sound like separate sales forces to me. So if your business model is what you said it is, affiliates and then maybe some e-commerce and some partnerships and this, then you're doing that. Like translating football matches is a different market than pulling up fashion links to sell with Shein and Temu, or H&M or whatever. I mean, each of those is a different sales force. So that concerns me. Like for you, like as your friend, like maybe you should narrow it down, because it's going to get hard for anybody to believe that you can pull that off without a sales team of at least 20 people, right? And maybe 100. So that's just a strategic concern. The $150 billion AI market sounds great. I think you need to break that down a little bit, just because investors, we hear this all the time. AI is huge, like give me something more specific. And I think really you're talking about the content market in some ways, right?
No, I'm talking about the AI in media. But otherwise, the media itself is going to project it to be $3.2 trillion by 2028. The media and entertainment industry in total.
Okay,
But
so
the
maybe
unpack. AI in media is right now is $150 billion, and it's projected to 20% annually, grow 20% annually. So
okay, well, add that 20% annually, because I don't think you said that.
I did that, yeah.
Did you? Okay, sorry, I'm doing several things at once. Then I think you need to explain a little more. What do you mean by media and entertainment, and why it applies to this? We're looking at specifics. We're looking at film, we're looking at television, we're looking at, and in these markets, AI is being applied. Again, you only had 2 minutes, so this is for the longer pitch, right? But unpacking that so that people can see the relationship there. Because as investors, we hear this all the time. I swear to God, I hear this 6-10 times a week. Our market is $1 trillion market. If we only get 2% of it, we're all rich. Like, okay, that's a fantasy, right? What we'd rather see than top down is bottom up, right? So that's top down. It's $1 trillion market, 2%, we've got a ton of money. What we'd rather see is unit economics. For every one partner or customer we sign, we make $100. Our margin is typically 60%. Boom, boom, boom. And then if we can sign 1,000 customers with this kind of margin, we make this kind of money. Growing them from the bottom up for the projections is a lot more believable, because it shows that you've thought about it, and it will force you to grapple with, well, can we really sign 1,000 customers? Because that's my concern for you, is you're going to have such a huge sales force to execute on all these things at the same time. It's going to be hard to manage, and it's going to be expensive.
If we narrow it down, because right now we have narrowed it down to only movies and TV shows. We are not just delving into all those things. We have the capability, and we already have the initial working back end for them, but we are not going to just working on it. We are focused on the TVs and movie shows and just fashion right now, as of now, and makeup, hairstyles, those type of things.
Okay.
To enter the market with that. But then because we already developed some initial working technology, we can just later on integrate it into the final.
Okay. Well, then I would talk about that as the lingo we usually use is our beachhead market is fashion. And our first customers we expect will be this kind of partner, and this, give me a few, because you give a lot of great examples, but those are all content use case product usage, not business usage, right? So who's the customer that's paying for this? Because that I didn't hear. Is it Netflix, or is it H&M, or is it me, the app user? We need more.
Okay. The B2B, we're aiming B2C for now, but B2B is another way of just making market. But our initial thing was just go to B2C. But Netflix, because Amazon is going to do that at some point in time, I'm sure. That's one thing that I know based on the trend they're aiming for.
Sure, it makes sense.
And Netflix is going to fall behind if they don't do something like that, because then Amazon is just going to monopolize the whole industry. So
Yeah.
Yeah, B2B is going to be later on, APIs and all those things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, you have a complicated pitch, but so it's a lot to squeeze into 2 minutes, so it may not be fair, but those are the suggestions I would have. If you can, a little more on the business side, and if you can make it sound like you're going to focus on one thing first rather than, because it just sounds dispersed, even if it is.
Okay, I have just like one question here that I just like asked a target question. It's like, okay, so as a PhD, you're taught to just like doubt every step of the way that you're doing. That's the whole point of science and doing those things. So we are doubting what we're doing is like actually a good idea or no. So I was just like wondering if you have, I know it's like it's not just like you cannot come up with a like general formula for everything. Sometimes like ideas like repetitive or duplicate ideas like Facebook might just like become like what it is. Sometimes like much better ideas like don't get any tractions. I know that, but is there any metric or is there any sign that we know that our idea is actually a good idea, or based on numbers are just like saying it's a good idea. Numbers are just like saying something about it. But
I would say it's customer feedback.
But they have only 20 random users.
Well, that was actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I wrote that down. 20 is great, but 200 would be better. I mean, I think it's time for you to talk to more customers. If this is a tar pit, the way to find out is see if people pay for it. Even if it's a very elementary version, like get out there and, I mean, it's going to be painful, right? But somebody smart said, how does it go? If you're not embarrassed by your first beta version, you waited too long to release it, right? You got to get it out there and see what people think.
So your suggestion is we finish the MVP, we release the beta version, and then we just like get the feedback. That would be the like what we need to do, or just like how if we should proceed with the idea or not. That's basically what you're saying.
Yes, but even before that, I'm saying I wouldn't even work on the MVP anymore. I would stop working on that and talk to more customers. 20 people isn't enough. And I would guess that you have since you talked to those 20, you've probably made some progress and have a different way to talk about it, or a better way to frame it, or maybe new UI that you would show them. Even if it's just mock-ups in Canva or something, customer feedback is what you need. Absolutely. So I don't know that investing more in the MVP, if you're asking the question, I suspect that you are concerned. And if you're concerned, you're right to be concerned. So stop, talk to people and I know it's tough because you're probably, I'm guessing here, but you're not really from the content industry perhaps, right? So you need to talk to people in that industry. Although I guess you're thinking more, you're going to talk to end users, people that would download the app. Yeah, I guess so. It's a longer discussion, I guess, but I think customer feedback is what you need. That's the thing that validates everything. And by the way, if you have 1,000 customers who say they're willing to pay for something, that's way better than having a completed prototype, right? If you come into an investor meeting and say, I've got this really cool thing and it works great. And I say, well, who cares? And you say, well, me and my team and my mom. Like, okay. Right? That's not enough. But if you say, well, I got this thing, it's about 70% finished, but I have 1,000 people that are interested in seeing me finish it. That's interesting.
But that's just like, again, is verbally, they say we're interested. For example, let's say just like go find 1,000 random people on the street, because I don't know what else. It's just like either SurveyMonkey or something else that you can do. But let's say you just like go and find 1,000 people randomly on the street, and they say verbally they're interested. But then again, it is not statistically necessarily, we just like mean traction.
You're being an engineer, you're being a PhD. Yeah, it's not statistically significant, but you got to do it anyway. You got to do things that don't scale sometimes, and we need people. And by the way, there are ways to do this. You can buy ads on Google or Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, right? And drive them to a survey. Exactly right. You can set up a landing page and then test the hell out of it. There's all kinds of A/B/C testing tools and run some variations, and you can get statistically significant numbers if you want. But the key here is, I'm disagreeing with you a little, because anything is better than nothing, right?
Okay.
25 is better than 24. 200 is better than 26, right? Anything is more, because what investors are not going to fund is stuff that people come and think they built something cool and nobody else cares, right? You got to have validation from the outside. And you can do that with, $100 on text ads on Google, and see if you can get 100 people to show up and start. A concept that might be useful for you to explore is the Net Promoter Score. Have you ever heard of NPS? For everybody, that would be useful. NPS is a very useful metric. Earlier in my career, all of us, I guess, in tech, we used to do just what you said. You send out a big survey, right? And you hope people will fill it out, and you try to give them a gift card or something, so they'll fill out the survey, and it's really hard to get responses. And of course, once you have the survey, you don't want to ask one question. You want to ask like 40 questions, and nobody's going to complete it, right? So it's this chicken and egg thing. Anyway, the Net Promoter Score is kind of a catch-all for that. And the Net Promoter Score generally asks one question, and you can Google this. I'll mess it up, but the concept is simply you ask one question. Would you recommend this to your friends? And that's it. And you put it on a scale of 1 to 100, and any product that doesn't have at least an 80 consistently, you're in trouble. And that's it. And that's a pretty easy question you can get out of people, right? As opposed to a 5-page survey with all these demographics and stuff, right? And it's a simple way, and I might have bungled that a little. Probably somebody in the chat room can correct me, but that's the kind of idea, right? Is this useful enough that you would pay for it and recommend it to a friend? The end. And send out 1,000 of those, and hopefully you get 800 yeses. And you can, there's a lot of good blog posts and videos about that, but that's kind of maybe the tool that you were missing that might be helpful for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, nice to see you again.
Thank
you. Good luck. It sounds like you're making progress. Your pitch is getting better for sure. All right. So that was Omid from Las Vegas. Anime says, great advice. Validate quickly. Yeah, thanks, Anime. Rajat says, unfortunately, participation link is not working. I think it is, but we're about finished here anyway, Rajat. Next time, come in early and you can get the RSVP link through the signups on Eventbrite and Meetup and everywhere we publish this. If you read in the promotions down to the second link, there's a second link, and you can sign up and join me on camera here. Vineet says, how do you differentiate from Google Lens? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's probably for you, Omid. That's a good point. Google Lens is starting to be a pretty ubiquitous product. I've been using it myself. It's pretty cool. And John says, hold on here. John says, and then Wesley, if you're still here, we'll get to you next. How do I do that? There it is. John says, I'm creating an AI app. All right, hold on. Let's put this up here. To help e-commerce companies. Whenever I try emailing companies to see if they would be interested, no one responds. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. People in the chat room, you might have some suggestions here. I guess my question, John, will be my suggestion would be to stop emailing. Maybe go to a trade show or a conference, or go eat lunch at the place near the company that you're targeting. Maybe you need to meet some people in the real world. It's a pretty broad topic, AI app to help e-commerce companies, but maybe you need to narrow down your target customer. Like, who is it specifically? The buyer for that, I gather it's in the e-commerce company, right? Who is it? Is it the marketing department or the sales department, or is there somebody in charge of conversion or a data analysis or HR, whatever it is, and get real specific about that. Find them on LinkedIn and nicely stalk them and get friendly. I don't think a spray and pray approach of just emailing people works anymore. Well, you're telling me it doesn't work, so I guess that's the truth. You probably just need to be a little more creative. I mean, there are certainly people that would say you should go and, well, there you go. Is that your question as well? Yeah, best way to contact end users. Yeah, I was just telling you, I guess. Some people would even say that you need to go and do something creative, right? Like figure out who they are and send them flowers, right? Do something they wouldn't expect. Write them a post, like a mail, like send them an actual letter. Everybody's so surprised to get real mail these days. They would probably visit your website if you sent them an actual letter. And Harry has a good reply here too. If he says it's just a numbers game as well, right? If you've done 100 emails, the 101st could be the email you get back. That's right. I remember a couple years ago, I started doing this show and I had a young woman on, and she was so disappointed that her company was getting no traction with investors, and she had put all this time into it, everything, and to pitch the investors, and nobody was reacting, and I felt bad for her, and I said, well, So how many investors have you pitched? 3. I was like, okay, well, that's your problem. 3 investors, right? I mean, you can't get 3 people to agree on anything. I said, try 30 or 300, right? And if you do all the research that we were talking about earlier, that would be even better. Okay, so Wesley, we're going to take Wesley and Rajat. If you're backstage, I'm sorry, we're kind of out of time, but if you can just type in the little chat room back there, Rajat, tell me what your question is, and we'll see if we can squeeze you in. Okay, Wesley, we're back. Did you wanted to talk about your project management app?
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit rusty on the. This is not a pitch. I'm very much like early sort of pre-validation stage.
Okay.
I put the link in the chat. It's called obuslabs.com. I guess my question is, so I've built a scraper to basically reach out to a specific set of people. I'm focusing on like neurodivergent folks, solo entrepreneurs, people who have like a lot of, who either like have personal professional projects on the go. Essentially, it's like an AI forward project management tool that will kind of, imagine you have an idea for a project, you have the timelines, you give it enough context. It's using the LM in the background, and you give enough information, it'll actually break down the phases for you, the timelines, and the kind of some initial tasks. And the idea is you can sort of like, it's like an AI sidekick. So you might have your, think Jira or think, any sort of like task management tool. You have the basic, you check tasks off, but it's sort of like, it'll kind of say, hey, like you're blocked on these tasks, or you can kind of like speak to it like an LM, and it'll have direct access to your tasks and project phases, and it'll sort of update it on the fly. So it's kind of like vibe coding, but like vibe sort of project management.
Yeah,
sort of.
That's interesting. So what's your question? That's an interesting idea.
So I guess it's like, I know, like I've gotten some good feedback so far, but and I've built a couple of kind of MVP, or I guess, prototypes, but I'm trying to figure out the specific, like the projects. There's so many kinds of projects. There's personal, professional projects. There's, and I like the ICP that I reached out to on LinkedIn. They're just all over the place. And so I guess it's like how much feedback would be enough for me to narrow down. Like for me, like the TAM is huge. And I think something generic enough where it's like, it doesn't really matter what project you're working with, as long as the workflow is simple and the tool kind of works as is. But I know, like, depending on the project, you might need a very specific kind of, things that relate to the project that you're working on. So like if you're a contractor, you need certain things, certain like, add-ons, tools, or if you are like a creative, or if you're somebody in tech, like it's just very different kinds of projects, but it's very generic, so far.
Well, I would, so if that's kind of the question, like kind of like how to proceed, that's kind of how to narrow it down. Is that kind of what you're asking?
It's like say I speak to 60 people. So for my ratio is like for every 5 people I reach out to, I get 1 person who's interested. I'll have a chat and a session. And so far the feedback's been great, but is the end result going to be just a generic project management app, or is it going to be like Java, or like an app for contractors, or an app for? So I guess at what point do I know? I'm ready to sort of
dive in,
and because I'm very much doing a lot of coding, and I have the skills. Like I have a design background and a coding background, so I know how to like build it, and
right.
But it's mostly just like.
Well, here's what I would do, just in case it's helpful, and I don't have an answer here, right? But here's how I think about opportunities like that, and everybody in the chat room as well. If you have suggestions for Wesley, please chime in, because this is a life question as much as a business question in some ways, right? So one thing I would do is think about the people that you would most like to work with and whose projects you would most like to be around. Because if this works, you're going to be spending a lot of time with them, right? So if you love to ride Harleys and there's some overlap with Harley project management, that's a way to go. And you said neurodivergent, that narrows it, but you also mentioned like personal versus professional, or is it exercise projects, or is it construction projects? Like think about, like, I mean, for you, Wesley, like, as your friend, I'm saying, like, who do you want to be when you grow up, right? Like how does this fit into your life? Because a lot of people, you could look at this as, I want to make the most money, and that's a totally legit way to go. But that also can create a job for you, which you might end up hating, even though it makes you rich. But, you know, there's trade-offs there. So that's one thing I would do, is think about who's the ideal customer profile for you, like as a guy, like who do you want to work with, right? The second would be, the razor that I often use is, especially for things that you can kind of spin up quickly and test, which it sounds like you can, is what will make the most money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of effort on a repeatable basis. Most amount of money, shortest amount of time, least effort, repeatable basis. So that's like a filter that you can run things through. And that may not create the next Facebook, but it may create the next thing that you want to do that addresses people that you want to work with, that makes you the most amount of money and the least amount of work, which is another, at least in my world, that's something I'm always looking for. And especially that last one for you, I'd have a little concern about the repeat use, because the projects may or may not, again, depends on what kind of project you target, you know, how often are they going to do this, right? Is this a one-time thing? It's to build a house, a custom home. Well, how many custom homes do people build? 1 or 2 in a life, right? And that's a small section, right? As opposed to, I don't know, a diet which changes every week or something, right? So repeatable use would be something I'd be looking at. And I would try to use those kind of filters crossed with your own experience, and then talk to as many people as you can until you start to get what you're looking for, is kind of that net promoter score idea I was talking about a minute ago, of like, yeah, I want that. And like the majority of people want that. And these are people that would have ideally a paying use and maybe even a recurring use. And those all start kind of a Venn diagram where you're starting to overlap a bunch of circles, where you find something you like to do that's helpful, but people like it enough they want to pay for it on a recurring basis, and you enjoy doing it. That sounds like a thing for Wesley, without giving you any specifics at all, but maybe that's a helpful framework.
No, that's a good one. I think especially the enjoyment aspect, because I think for me it's also like, I think especially in the era that we're in, it's like you can prototype things so quickly, and you can build things so quickly. But I think it's like, is there a problem that I'm willing to spend time on as well?
Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, with your skills, you probably have a good job already, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like you need another job. You want to do this because it's something you enjoy, or maybe it makes $1 billion too. That'd be cool. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you can see but these books behind me, I'll take you off camera here, but these books behind me, that's what those books are about. I wrote these, I'm working on a new one just about fundraising, but these are about my personal journey when I left corporate America and started building websites. So this is a different era, right? We didn't have any AI, but it was when the razor I was talking about, the most amount of money, the least amount of time, because I had so many different ideas for little websites, right? And put up dozens of them and figure out which ones would work the best. So these are full of, well, these two anyway. Internet Riches was the first one, and then Click Millionaires is kind of this was 2006, and this is 2012, because they're old now. But the strategy of how to think about that and prioritize your own lifestyle choices is something I haven't seen in any other business books, right? How to make money, but doing something that it creates a lifestyle that you want. So if you're interested, that Click Millionaires, it's in a bunch of languages, but in English, it's on Amazon and stuff. I'd give you one, but the publisher controls the rights. But you can get it on Amazon. It might be useful for you because you're kind of at that point. So I hope that's helpful. That was our friend Wesley, and we got one more here, and then we're going to wrap it up. So Rajat is coming on. Where are you today, Rajat?
Hi, Scott. Really nice, and really learned a lot in the last half an hour of listening to you itself.
Oh, great.
I'm really excited to be here first time. I'll try to be quick because I know that you're running short of time, as you just mentioned. I'll start with a little bit of my introduction. I have been living in New Zealand for last 7+ years. I'm a financial advisor by profession, licensed professional. I've been working as a wealth manager as well. So while working, I realized that a lot of the firms in New Zealand are very traditional and still follow the base, very traditional method of paper and getting the questionnaire and allocating a fund, right? So I was a portfolio manager. I have been a DIMS in the DIMS service, discretionary investment management service, and all those things. One of the main problem is digitalization. New Zealand does need digitalization, right? So what I started doing and how it started my interest in this is I started creating tools. I already started creating tools for rebalancing. I did automatic rebalancing like every 6 months. So an investor comes in, he has 25,000, 50,000, 100,000. We invest the money. I would invest the money in different stocks according to strategic asset allocation model, like how much should go in Australian, how much should go in US, how much in Europe, right? Now every 6 months, because market moves, right? So we still need to do rebalancing, move back to what we already decided, right? So this process was really cumbersome. So what I did is I developed an MVP for the company where I was working, and prior to them, and I worked really well, reduced time by 70%, saved $1 million in a year, and after that, I literally sold the intellectual property rights to that, and then I started working on something else. Now, what I'm working on, I already developed like 70% of the MVP, is KiwiSaver. KiwiSaver is a retirement scheme in New Zealand, right? Like everybody has to be involved over 18 years. It's a mandatory scheme, right? And what it does is it's simply a fund again. It's mandatory fund, 3% contribution is required from the person, 3% is contribution required from the employer, right? Now, the problem is there are two problems that I'm trying to solve, and I think I've solved it, on what I'm trying to build. So there are over 250 funds, KiwiSaver funds, right? Now, for a layman person, like which fund to go in is really difficult, right? And the process is cumbersome. And a lot of the times what happened is these advisors, which I was myself, I will advise to a person, go in this fund, and I will keep getting the trail commission without providing the service. And more often, a person doesn't even know he has an advisor. For example, you come to me, you say, which fund should I go to? I will say, go to XYZ fund, right? And I have done all the paperwork. You won't hear from me for next 5 years. I will keep on getting commission. You won't receive any service.
That's right.
Which is a sad situation. So I was really frustrated by it. I'm a very ethical and moral person, right? And this is what I've seen in the industry. And I was like, this is not right. We got to find a solution. So the solution, okay. And at the same time, I do understand the struggle of financial advisor as well, because it doesn't really pay much. You get 0.05%. So there's a problem from advisors are not incentivized to do this thing, because a lot of task is there and not really much revenue. So they are more gonna go into go with this one, go with that one, and that's it, and forget. So what I did is now.
So what's your question?
Okay, sorry. So my question is, I developed this MVP. I quit my job because I'm started working on this almost full time, because I could do so. And I pitched the MVP to my last employer, and he was really excited about it. Though the demand was a little bit too much. He said, I want skin in the game and stuff like that. About 50%, because you got this idea while working here in the industry, but that's industry knowledge. I'm MBA, I'm qualified advisor and everything. So he said I want, and at that stage it was nothing done. It was just a discussion, or 10%. I started working on it, created some MVP prototype. So I was like, nah, this sounds not right, because from the very onset, if you start getting that feeling, and as you mentioned, just in a couple of chats you had before. So I was like, no, I'm happy to more discuss this later down the track when something is developed. I'm not selling a baby which is in an egg, right? Let it develop, because that's where the things grow. Better have a bit of business sense, I believe. Let it grow, and then we can talk. Because I gotta see what you are bringing to the table, right? So the question is, though, interestingly, another colleague.
What's the question, Rajat? What's the question?
How do I select the partners, and should I even select the partner at this stage when I can, I'm getting help from my family? She's in IT. I do have IT background as well myself, so it's interesting. I do have. I can develop. I have extensive finance qualifications. I'm doing almost 80-90% on my own.
Wow.
10-20% help from my sister, and she doesn't want anything. But I'm more than happy to involve her in at that later at the stage. But it's you don't really want to talk about because I'm really passionate about what I'm doing. Right, I'm spending about 15 hours.
So the question is how to pick a partner, or how much equity to give a partner.
how to pick a partner. Do I really need to pick a partner at this stage? Do I really need to raise capital because I don't feel like I need to raise capital? So my strategy, I want to confirm if my strategy, I'm going to tell you my strategy in 1 minute, if it's good or not. So my strategy at this stage is develop MVP. I'm 80%, 70% done in developing the MVP. My strategy in next 2 months, get the MVP fast. I do have strategic partners already, a couple of firms, 2 firms at least, that they want to use it. Because I have been in the industry, so they want to use the product. So I believe my plan is in 2 to 3 months, develop MVP, give it to them, right, for free as a facilitator partner, get feedback, improvise. No need to raise funds at this stage. No need to get officially anybody officially involved at this stage. Once facilitator partner has provided feedback and I've evolved into a stage where I can go more scalable, at that stage, think about partnership, and equity, and all those sort of stuff. Because right now I'm just passionate about doing what I'm doing. I can do it all by myself with a little bit of help from here and there, freelancer and stuff like that. Like, asking questions to people, special people like you, who can help me with you are helping me with a little bit of guidance side. IT person, like a really complicated problem. I have connected to APIs of government database and everything like that, all by myself. So
I think you're on the right track if that's your question. So the longer you can wait to raise money, the better. And if you can never raise money, that's even better because you own 100%. So you're totally right about that. I mean, you know finance, right? So if you can keep from diluting yourself, I totally agree with that. Especially for venture capital, what you're looking for is it's kind of like jet fuel, but until you've built the plane, nobody's going to give you the money anyway, right? And then you take off. So I think you're right. Get the prototype going. It demonstrates some traction. And the more you can do on your own, the better valuation you'll get and the less equity you'll give up. Absolutely. You're 100% right on that. The longer you wait for partners, the same thing, because obviously you can say, I've got this 80% done, man. Why would you be an equal partner? One thing though, that I don't know if you've thought about, but is that does concern me from what you described is if this other guy thinks that he has some claim to this because you came up with it while you worked for him, there, at least under United States law, he may have a claim, right? And I don't know if you had an employment contract or something like that, you might want to be careful in terms of investing too much into this and then having him show up in 5 years and claim he owns half or even 10% that you didn't approve of, right? In the States, you would need to get somebody like that to sign a document, but they won't, they give up their claims, right? But that would require some sort of compensation usually. So that's kind of a sticky area pretty quickly there. I don't know, and we don't have time to get into it, but I would take that under advisement and maybe talk.
I'll just quickly mention that I've already signed the document that he can't claim anything. So it's already done and dusted because I gave a couple of intellectual property to him and I said, you can't claim this anywhere in the future. So it can't.
You signed that or he signed that? He signed it too. Both signed. I don't care what you signed. It's him I'm worried about.
No, we both signed.
Good,
we both signed.
Okay, well then that was advice for everybody else. Then good job then. Yeah. Okay. So then, especially at least in the States, well, you got the idea. You already took care of it. So good job.
It's already IP is sorted because it was not just this product. I built multiple and I gave it at very discounted rate. So I'm building things which is saving millions. So I want to build something which is for society, for people in general, and for everybody, for industry, for it's. So that's why I'm gonna do it solo. So right now I'm living in a small town and I'm working on it in a small cabin.
Very cool. Very cool. New Zealand's beautiful. Well, a thought for you then would be if you find people like him that you might want to keep on their good side, would be to you can create like a board of advisors. You've probably heard that concept, but there's a great template, and it's called FAST, Founder Advisor Service Template, FAST, and it's put out by Y Combinator or the Founder Institute or somebody like that. But it's a template you can use, and it has a nice little matrix of how far along is the company, and then how much time or expertise would the person contribute, and that would kind of mean this many share or this percentage of a company, and you kind of it can be very helpful for framing those discussions. Maybe you've already covered this guy, like you said, it's done and dusted, but in the future that's a really useful one, and it can still be customized. We use that as a basis when I do advisory work, and we raise all the numbers, but but it's useful.
Nah, that's awesome advice, because this guy gonna come back to me in a 1 month time. He is so sticky.
Yeah.
He's not so. I should not say this on camera, but he said he gonna come back in 1 month time. My other colleague who is helping in getting more clients on board,
Yeah.
facilitator partners, he want a piece of it, and I'm more than happy. But right now, like, the person I am is like, I just like
Yeah,
grind
good.
hard.
Good.
That's
Well,
what
it
I'm
sounds like
doing.
you're making progress. That's great. Well, I'm glad you showed up tonight. I hope that's
Yeah.
helpful. And if you have follow-up questions, I forgot to say this to everybody. Anybody has follow-up questions, you can post them on the YouTube replay or on the LinkedIn replay, and we'll try to address them there as well. So hope to see you again next month as well. And I hope that works out. It sounds like you've got the right kind of track record. People want to work with you. So that's great, Rajat. Congrats. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, nice to meet you. And that was our show for tonight, I think. So thank you all for sticking through. The replay will be there later if you want to watch it back at double speed, or slow down if I'm talking too fast. I'll be here again next month. And we're always online at startupcouncil.org, trying to help you and founders like you all over the world. So if that sounds like fun, please come and join us. It's a new website, like I said, a lot of events and services, and your profile and publicity tools for you there. And we're doing it all at cost, or very low cost, or free. So community service on your behalf from me and the Startup Council. So hope you're having a great day or evening wherever you are, and we'll see you again next month, if not sooner. Thanks for watching.